here at Smart Fitness answering the question about glute strength in regards to single leg bridging and squatting. Now, as a quick note, typically squats tend to be more of a knee dominant exercise, so we'll typically feel more of the quads as opposed to the glutes. But in regards to a single leg bridge or bridges in general, those tend to be more of a hip dominant exercise, so we should feel more of the glutes as opposed to anything else. So what we want to be able to do is, if we're having issues or if we've identified issues of glute activation, then we'll want to look at some type of unilateral or single leg exercises to help teach the glute how to function properly, and then reintroduce some type of double leg exercise. In this case, we can look at a squat as a way to see if that fixed our squat pattern. So with that way, let's get started. So here's one exercise that we can do, and we're going to go over a few variations of it. This is going to be the clam. Now, the big thing we want to make sure that we're doing here is activating the glute. So repetition isn't as important as it is holding it. So if we can hold it and isolate the movement and isolate the glute, get that glute to turn on, that's really all we care about right now. So the first setup is going to be laying on my side. My knee's going to be bent. I'm going to have my top hand in front of me, keeping weight on that hand. And I'm going to take my top knee and slide it forward. We don't want the hip to roll backwards. I'm going to slide my hip forward, slide that knee forward, keeping weight on my hand. And then I'm just going to slowly bring that knee up, keeping my feet together. And we're looking to feel something through that hip there. And we're just going to hold it there. We can hold it there 10, 20, 30 seconds. Try to get that butt to turn on, and we can relax. We can do a few repetitions of it. But again, the goal isn't to do a lot of reps. The goal is to get that muscle to turn on. And that's typically done through some type of holding series. Another thing is that sometimes the glute is hard to turn on if we're not creating the stability that we need through the trunk. So one way that we can try to help accomplish that here is, instead of keeping my hand down, I'm actually going to take my hand forward and I'm going to reach forward. And we should feel that rib cage pulling into us. So as I reach, I'm going to take a nice strong exhale. Reach forward so I have some tightness in my stomach. I'm going to slide that knee forward a little bit and pick that knee up. I'm going to hold that there, same thing. Trying to get this hip to turn on. Again, 10 or more seconds. Again, we don't care about repetitions, just holding it. So that's one way that we can do the clam. Another way that we can do it is still by this idea of creating more stability through the upper part of the hip, through the trunk, is going into a side plank. So from here, I just have a little pad for my knees. I'm going to go into a knee side plank here. So I get some activation here, and then I'm just going to slowly bring that knee up off of my other knee. My feet stay together, and I'm trying to get that hip to turn on as I get the stability that I need on the opposite side. So a lot of times when it comes to some type of lack of activation, there's some type of muscular testing done. So we're kind of playing a little bit of the guessing game here. But usually some type of holding series and or some type of way to create stability somewhere else so that we can activate this area here tends to be a good way to get things to turn on. So those are going to be some variations of the clam to help get your glute to turn on. So after we get the glute to turn on, we can explore our bridges. So from here, we'll just lay on our back. We'll go into our bridge position. And the first thing we just want to see is, are we able to turn the butt on a regular bridge? So the first thing we want to do is pull the rib cage in. We want to pull the rib cage in. If we're having a hard time figuring that out, we can have the hands up to the ceiling and reach to the ceiling. And that should help us pull that rib cage in. We can keep our hands there, that's fine. And then we're going to slowly bring that butt up as we keep that rib cage in. And again, we're just going to hold that there and figure out whether or not we can get the butt to actually turn on. Same thing, 10 or more seconds, it's fine. Again, repetition doesn't matter, just isolating that muscle. If that feels pretty good, we can still keep the hands there as a setup for the stomach. So we're reaching, rib cage is in, stomach is tight. I'm going to go for the bridge. I get my butt to turn on, that's great. And what I'm going to do slowly is I'm going to take one leg and bring it off the floor, come back down. Same thing. And I can do that for a few repetitions, or I can just hold that there. Holding that position might be a little tough, but the big thing you're trying to see there is, are we able to distribute weight evenly and get that glute to turn on? So what might end up happening if we're in this position is we'll just collapse, and that's something that we don't want, so we have to work on that. But again, stabilizing our bridge here by pulling the rib cage in might help us get better activation through the glute, and then as a result might help us get better in the single leg bridge. So starting off at a bridge position and then working your way to a single leg bridge might also help you there. And lastly, what we can do is an airplane series. So from here, we just need something to hold on to. You can hold on to a bar on a squat rack, or in this case, I have a TRX. The higher we are, the easier it's going to be. So from here, I'm going to hold on pretty high up. I'm going to come into a single leg deadlift position so I can load that hip. And then from here, all I'm trying to do is roll or drop my right hip, because I'm on my left hip. And then I'm going to bring my right hip up nice and slow right back to where I started, which was right here. Again, slowly dropping my right hip and then slowly bringing that right hip up, and that should be coming all through the glute and the hip there. So that's going to be our airplane series. Again, the higher you are, the easier it is. The lower you are, the harder it's going to be. As you get better on that, you might be able to do it without any support, but having support is really going to help isolate that glute better. You can't do that slow enough. Again, repetitions isn't that important. You're just trying to get, in this case, a really, really slow tempo so that you can really focus on that hip rotation. So those are going to be some strategies that you can do to help with your glute issues. And hopefully, once you get those isolated work out of the way, you'll be able to explore back to your squat and see if that helps balance your squat out better.